record to this computer. Okay, let's begin. All right, so yesterday we solved about 10 of the questions on security, right? So I'll post a video, so anyone who missed it can watch it. All right, so we are continuing today. We'll solve this, and then the question set on the Google Docs has been updated with new set of questions, so we'll look at that one as well. Right, and then we'll call it a night today. All right.
So, Chairman, where did you get your questions from? Yeah, I can see. Zoom in small.
Yes, again.
Yeah, Mala.
Charlie, what's up?
He didn't laugh. Why? Why do you
and it catch me like rapture today. Now they do something. Well, I left my phone. I just can't see. Say, oh, you called me twice.
Of course, I mean, I say no.
Okay, this be printing on there.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Oh, okay.
As you set up, you get the option to like enable make everybody share screen.
I go do that. You said I for try make you enter the system. I go try do then make you get credentials.
All right.
So you go.
All right, sure. Please, is it okay? Is the zooming okay? Or I should zoom again.
Zoom small.
Zoom man, the space no go take do anything.
You see, people say zoom. Yeah. I no go zoom again. All right, so you have a Lambda function used to process some data in the database. You would like to give your Lambda function access to the database password. Which of the following options is the most secure? So yesterday when we were talking about security, we spoke about the best practices with how to store your code, right, in a Lambda function.
Recording in.
Okay, so I see. All right, see. All right. Oh. This again. All right, yeah, so the correct answer is C, right? You don't save it as a plain text, and then you also don't embed it in the code. Oh, why?
Why ECG carry your internet?
No, sir. No, I think it be you, Demi. Of late. It is so they do. At that time like this, now they won't open. And then say then they don't know if you reach them at service or said that
We don't get high availability.
you don't mind them. So you have it as an encrypted environment variable, and then you will decrypt it at runtime. Right, this is the correct option. All right. So the next one, you have a secret value that you use for encryption purposes, and you want to store and track the values of the secret over time. Which AWS service should you use? I don't know if I mentioned something like that, but let me see the answers that will come. Okay, I see A. See A as well. So you have a secret value that you use for encryption purposes, and you want to store and track the value. This one, myself, I forgot. Store the. You want to store and track the values of this secret over time. Which AWS service should you use? Okay, we have two A's. Let me select this one and see if for the explanation that will come. Because I know parameter store also has version tracking, but now, yeah, so it's parameter store. So with parameter store, what happens is that if you store a secure string, right, it gives you, let me see if the network will help. We'll do that. I think I have. So you should see the version numbers attached to the values that you store. So anytime you change it, you will be able to see the version that you have, right? So let me open my authentication app. Eh?
Why? Hey.
Hey, me my account.
Muntia, so muntia.
I can't smash.
Right, okay. What then am I was what person mean piano? See, say this guy, Obaro Abesha Hanoko on Bob Baby house. Okay, the dashboard is taking a while. Alrighty. Put the phone mobile data there. Hmm. Okay, let's move on. But then, parameter store has the versioning feature, right? That is automatic. So anytime you store a parameter and probably you change it or you rotate it, you are able to see that is. I don't want favorites. Just bring the list and let me see. Okay. Abutreyo. I refresh the page. Hey, 0.01 if you for a day.
What the call the call.
AWS, they find ways they collect my money. If they the CloudWatch
For the
dashboard,
wiper.
the cloud, I set some CloudWatch dashboard take show also.
The one you share for the group.
Yeah. Nyampa manhwe. Mhwe asanka manye. All right, so when you come to parameter store, yeah, let me see if I can. It will go. Oh, you are move small now then.
That's the way you link it like that.
I swear, I don't know. Okay, so let's create a parameter. Okay, so test standard secure. Let me just value this test. Okay, then I'll create. Let me go to settings.
Isaac,
Yeah,
like Judith still did the other meeting inside. I go there where I see 4 people for them.
I don't know whether she joined where she left or she bed.
Make a text them.
Yeah.
Uh,
So let me view the
Hey,
details.
Judy
Bode,
them,
you that.
do them. Judy the married woman, she born. What be your problem? You and Gasa, what be your problem?
Okay.
We
Okay.
all know
So
say we married, but you don't like women too much. Whether old, whether bro,
They pay
everything. So
you.
that's how we did
They
record.
pay
We
you.
did record. I beg.
you make a talk one thing. Agban.
Okay. So if you view the parameter details, you could see this is what version 1. So let me edit this. Okay. And change the value to 2 and then save. Right. Now, if I should select and then view details, you can see the version is now 2. So let me check history and see. You can see the 2 versions are here, right? So if I should select version 1, I think I should be able to edit.
So you the version regular strings or not just secure strings.
Yeah. Right. So wait, which one did I select? Yeah, so this is the version 1. I should see it should be it should have the old one, oh. And I say it still gets updated. Oh, but it's the same thing. Let me see the 2. Version 2. But it's the same value. So how are we able to see the values of the previous versions? Let me see overview. Version 2. ARN. Anyway.
But you edit the string.
And I think I did the first one was this is test, and then the second one was this is test 2.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought we should be able to see. Okay, then let's do a secure string, right? And see how that one also works. Okay, so test. So creating a hierarchical kind of, right? And then a secure string. So my current account, KMS key ID, and this test string. Great. Must be fully qualified name. All right. And then now let me edit it. And I'll change it to string. This is it's a different string. Let's see. Okay. So if I should open this, okay. So this is the second version, and this is the value. This is a different string. And let's go to history and check the first one. If it doesn't come, then it means that it just keeps also keep the this is the
The
user.
override.
Yeah, that means it just overwrites. But it just gives us okay, so I think it overwrites. Right. So it overwrites. So probably what it does is that it just makes us see say it has been changed. But it doesn't keep the old versions. Right? But it shows when this one was created and when this was edited. Tags, nothing, overview. Yeah, so it overwrites, or probably if we'd want to keep. Okay, so let me do something here. Right, I'll just change the name. I'll change the name as well to a different name. Then we'll see if it's going to keep one version or two versions. Hey, today's network here. All right, so let me edit this. Okay, so you can't also change the name. All right, so it overwrites anyway. So you have a secret value that you use for encryption. Secret value you use for you want to store and track the values of the secret over time. Which service should you use? So let's see this one. Yes, so SS can be used to store secret and has built-in tracking capability. Each time you edit the value of a parameter, SSM parameter store creates a new version of the parameter and retains the previous one. You can view details, including the values of all versions in the parameter history. But this is not true. Because so far from what we have seen, from what we have seen, we are not able to see the values of the previous versions because we have version 2 and this is the value for version 2. If you go to history and then we select this, let me see, manage labels. Yes, it's just a label.
But this thing, I think we did it in one of the initial labs.
Yeah,
Go back to the version 1.
this will be the version 1. Let me see.
No, just go the screen before the edit label.
Yeah.
If you double click the button,
Don't really do anything, just
or you
this.
click editor. What do I edit for the top?
The edit, they show you the current value. Unless there is something that we have.
So this current value was it wasn't the version 1 value. Or is a current value?
This is the current value, the version 2 value.
Current value. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Let me see. Let me add one.
Okay, so I think it's for just for tracking sake.
Yeah, for
It won't
tracking
reveal the value to you, but it has history of the version.
version, yes.
But the explanation for the answer is
Answer to
you
say,
use the
Mogu
previous history.
read the answer again.
So you see, I even edited one of the versions. Right. And then this is the current
So
value.
now it's version 4.
Mm,
Okay, so go where the history.
so this is the history. So I think the clue will be when I added the label.
The labels. Yeah. So it tracks. So now we'll go back to the answer then read down what maybe the way we understand them.
They keep all right. So the answer says SSM parameter store used to store
So
secret.
version tracking ability. Yeah, that's all. You're able to track. It doesn't mean you're able to view.
So you
Yeah,
can view the
the follow up,
details, including the values.
So you
Okay,
see,
each time you edit the values, create a new version of the variable and retains the previous versions. You can view details. Oh, okay. Okay.
Unless maybe some new updates can we change them.
yeah,
Including the values, no, they make the difference.
yeah, they make the explanation somewhat. Okay, let's go.
Or you go ask Monica.
We'll go next. Shall I tell you?
Because for KMS, the KMS no gets. It just rotation that it no gets.
Mention.
So your user-facing website is a high-risk target for DDoS attacks, and you would like to get 24/7 support in case they happen, and AWS reimbursement for incurred costs during the attack. What AWS service should you use? The first question we had. So the previous question we had 3 responses. This one to 3. Okay, in your 4. And we're about 22. Please, I beg you, am I in? Yes, sir. Let us all contribute, right? So that we learn together. The more the responses come, the more we understand how, each of us understand it, right? Then we know how to, because if we should go with the selected few, if they are right, then we just move on with it, right? But probably you might not understand. So if we get like, it doesn't matter, so wait till so won't you, but if we should get diverse answers, then we are able to, see, say, okay, some people don't understand, then we explain. But if we have just selected few bringing answers, I don't think it's really benefits, it will benefit you in case you don't understand. But then if you don't understand, then that's also fine.
Charlie, some of us would understand the shield advanced, but some don't know the WAF. So me, in order to know WAF, I go choose WAF. So we go explain and know the difference. Because they can twist the question, and if you don't take for like you're choosing WAF or something else. So me, I choose the
Okay.
Sharon,
so,
you send me direct message.
But it's some post time again. I see.
That was a
I
mistake. That was a mistake.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So now I see A, I see B, I see C. Okay. So now I think we can safely trash the DDoS ops team, right? Now let's start from the first one. So WAF protects your infrastructure against common network exploits, something like SQL injections, and then IP or UDP SYN flats, right? SYN flats is like synchronization flats. So you are able to set some IP address stream to block or allow, right? And you set rules to deny certain traffic that are coming in, right? This is different from security groups anyway. Now, Shield is the acronym. The acronym is Web Application Firewall. That's AWS WAF. Web Application Firewall. All right. Now, Shield Advanced, right? In this case, Shield is actually.
I mean, it is different from the well architected framework. These two things it is very confusing.
Yes. So this is also different from well architected framework. Right. All right. So Shield Advanced is just an advanced form of AWS Shield. They all do the same thing, but then Shield Advanced gives you a 24/7 access to. There is a team in AWS called DDoS recovery team or something, right? So they help you in case you are facing a DDoS attack and then you don't know how to go about it. They help you, give you measures as to how to remediate it. And then in case during the attack, the DDoS attack, you incur some cost, right? They are able to look into it and then reimburse you for the cost that you incurred during the attack, right? So that is it for Shield Advanced and then Shield. So in this case, immediately you see 24/7 support and then reimbursement, then you are heading towards Shield Advanced. Okay.
Which one be the $3,000 per month?
The 3,000, I think that'd be the Shield, because it'd be subscription, right? That'd be the Shield Advanced.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you would like to externally maintain the configuration values of your main database to be picked up at runtime by your application. What's the best place to store them to maintain control and version history?
I previous one, I restrict my phone. I didn't see the answer.
The
previous one, what was the answer?
Shield
The
Advanced.
one,
no, that'd be Shield Advanced.
Okay.
Okay, so we have C, we have D. Okay, so a lot of these coming in. All right. All right. So yesterday we I think I don't even have to reference yesterday. Just the previous question. We learned I think the previous two questions that we did, right? There are some components that we can see here. Now, even in our labs, you know that we store the credentials of the database in parameter store, okay? And then by runtime of the database picks the credentials uh, themselves, okay? And then there is also version history, as we've seen in the SSM parameter store, right? There's version history, even though there's some contradiction on the explanation and then all that. So here, it's not advisable to store credentials in a DynamoDB table. S3 is the same because they are credentials, right? EBS is volume for storage. So the only option here is the SSM parameter store, right? So if you selected D, that's correct. So AWS guard duty scans the following, except yesterday, I think I hammered on this thing about 2 or 3 times. Any more answers? Sharon, what's your secret? Tell us. It looks like you are sticking with C for all the options.
I think cause it's like DNS logs, the domain name server. I don't think the guard details can that data source, but I beg to differ.
Oh, okay. I'm not even asking for the answer, sir. Then how you like consistently chose C, 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 C. I just I thought it was intentional, so I was just trying to. Okay, so yesterday we actually learned that
You drink
yeah.
it and see.
Yesterday during the presentation, I said, sir, or even the material revealed that guard duty scans CloudTrail logs, VPC flow logs, and then DNS logs, except CloudWatch. So guard duty does not scan CloudWatch logs. I think I have the PDF still opened. Right. So this is guard duty. So these are the 3 main ones, and then other optional features, which might even increase with time. But then there's no CloudWatch logs, right? So let's also take note of that. You have a website hosted on a fleet of EC2 instance fronted by an application load balancer. What should you use to protect your website from common web application attacks? Example, SQL injection. This one we don't need to take time. Right. So yes, obviously B, right? For common application attacks, that is what okay, so you would like to analyze OS vulnerabilities from within EC2 instances. You need these analysis to occur weekly and provide you with concrete recommendations in case vulnerabilities are found. Which AWS service should you use? All right, so we have C. So I think now we know shield, now we know guard duty. All right, so it should make things easier to rule them out. Okay, and then the only new thing that we are seeing is the inspector and config. But AWS config is to track or audit configuration management. Right? Don't confuse this for CloudTrail. CloudTrail is for audit trail, right? For user actions and then API calls as to who did what and then what happened and then all that. Config is to actually track configuration management. For example, probably your resources aren't tagged, how you've placed your security groups, they are not, those things. That's what AWS config does. So question 18, what is the most suitable AWS service for storing RDS-DB password, which also provides you automatic rotation? What is the difference between B and C? B was what? C was inspector, and then B was guard duty. So guard duty gives you like a 247 monitoring, right? So guard duty is more or less like for monitoring, and then it's also used to scan logs. Okay. And the inspector is for vulnerability scans. So inspector doesn't have remediation capability, but guard duty has remediation capabilities. Okay, so question 18, answers for question 18. So here, yes, RDS passwords, but the new thing is automatic rotation. So remediation capabilities is, being able to solve it, right? So if there is, what's it called? In case it finds any vulnerability, is able to
Resolve it.
yes, it's able to resolve it. I was about to say mitigate, but I had a feeling like you also ask what is the meaning of mitigate. So yes, it's able to resolve it. That's just it. Okay. So I have B and A for this question. More answers. Okay, let's move on. Right. So for the service that gives you automatic rotation for your credentials is Security Manager, right? So here, storing RDS passwords, right? So I think there's also rotation in KMS that does it every 1 year, but KMS is not for storing passwords. They are for storing keys, encryption keys. Which AWS service allows you to centrally manage EC2 security groups and Shield Advance across all AWS accounts in your AWS organization? This should also be a straightforward answer because now we know Shield, now we know guard duty, and then I've spoken about config as well, right? All right, so the right answer is AWS Firewall Manager. So I see somebody choosing a config. So let me explain again. So what config does is to track configuration management. Okay, so it scans it and then gives you, it's to check for compliance for compliance purposes. So it will tell you that, okay, maybe you have your security group, you have a port 2 open for the public, right? Then you now have to go there and probably change it. Now, what Firewall Manager does is that, so here, the keyword here is what? All accounts centrally manage EC2 security groups and should advance across all accounts. So what Firewall Manager does is it gives you, let me try and see if I can open Firewall Manager here. Let me delete these credentials. But it is also not a free service though, but I think there's an explanation there that we can also or take advantage of or learn from. Right. So what's Firewall Manager does is that it gives you the opportunity. So instead of you going to configure security groups, right? Like you have 10 accounts who have security groups for, the same purpose, right? Instead of you to go into every account or for every account to manage their own security group, you're able to use Firewall Manager to set your security group rules, right? So any resources that are being created that needs a security group will automatically adopts that, right? So in case you create a security group for a load balancer, so any new load balancer that you provision will automatically take that configuration, right? So you don't have to go in there and then specify security groups or create new security groups, right? So that's what Firewall Manager does. So it gives you the opportunity to centrally manage all these firewall tools. You talk of WAF, talk of Shield, right? So let me go to Firewall Manager. So central management of firewall rules, right? WAF, Shield, security groups itself. Security group is also a firewall. So the short for Firewall Manager is FMS. I'm even paying attention to it today. So Firewall Manager Service.
Abbreviations plenty.
Really? So you can see when you open the service, you even have all the other ones. So WAF is here, Shield is here. So you can also find this if you open the WAF and Shield service, right? You also see Firewall Manager here. Oh, is this network? Units they go live.
It'll go
Okay.
leave.
She posts for the WhatsApp page and says she'll be off for some days.
Oh.
Okay. The network is failing to load. Let's move on. But I'm just hoping. Okay, so this even brings an explanation. So AWS Firewall Manager is a security management service that allows you to centrally configure and manage firewall rules across your account and applications in AWS organizations. It is integrated with AWS organizations so you can enable WAF rules, Shield Advanced Protection, security groups, AWS Network Firewall rules, Amazon Route 53 Resolver DNS Firewall rules, right? So which AWS service help you protect your sensitive data stored in S3 bucket? This is also a cool one. Because now we know guard duty, we know Shield, we know KMS as well, right? The only thing that we haven't mentioned and also related with protecting sensitive data is this, right? Yeah, so that's must see. All right, so this is a long one. The ones that the type that we will meet often in the exam. All right, so an online payment company is using AWS to host its infrastructure. The front end is created using Vue.js and is hosted on an S3 bucket, and the back end is developed using PHP and is hosted on EC2 instances in an auto-scaling loop. As their customers are worldwide, they use both CloudFront and Aurora Global Database to implement multi-region deployments to provide the lowest latency and provide availability and resiliency. A new feature required, which gives customers the ability to store data encrypted on the database, and this data must not be disclosed even by the company admins. The data should be encrypted on client side and stored in an encrypted format. What do you recommend? So let's go through the question again. So an online payment company is using AWS. This one, we don't need it. The front end, blah, blah, blah. We also don't need this. As their customers are worldwide, they use both CloudFront and Aurora Global Database to implement multi-region deployment, right? So our interest is in what? Multi-region deployment. Now, let's move on. A new feature required, which gives customers the ability to store data encrypted on the database. And this data must not be disclosed even by the company admins, right? The data should be encrypted on the client side and stored in an encrypted format. What do you recommend? So let's rule out, right? In the question, they said they are using what? An Aurora Global Database. And then yesterday I spoke about multi-region keys with respect to using global databases. And then I spoke about DynamoDB and then Aurora, right? So even if, let's say, you don't know about all these, it's saying Aurora. We've mentioned that encryption and then cloud HSM is out of scope for the SAA exam. So we didn't even delve deep into it. So Aurora and the Lambda are out. All right. Now it's an Aurora database. So definitely we need to use a client-side encryption and then KMS multi-region key. Right. So I mean the Lambda here, they make sense. Unless we are all wrong. Right. So by simple elimination, we should be able to take the wrong ones out. Okay. All right. So you have an S3 bucket that is encrypted with SSE KMS. You have been tasked to replicate the objects to a target bucket in the same AWS region, but with a different KMS key. You have configured the S3 replication, the target buckets, and the target KMS key, and it's still not working. What is missing to make the S3 replication work? So let's go to the question. Let me zoom up. There you are there. Right. Right. So the question says that the S3 bucket is encrypted with server-side encryption by KMS. So you have been tasked to replicate the objects to a target bucket in the same AWS region, but with different KMS key. Right. Now you have configured the replication, the target buckets, and the target KMS key, but it is still not working. So what is missing? All right. This one, it should be out because you should be able to have a multi-key encryption, right? You encrypt with one key, and then the data in the different buckets should be able to be encrypted with another key. That is, so it is supported. right? Raising a support ticket is not it, because AWS doesn't even have access to your keys. All right. Here says you have to configure permissions for both the source key, that is KMS decrypt, and the target KMS key, that is KMS encrypt. All right. And this looks like the correct answer, right, by the S3 replication service. Now, this one also says the source KMS key and the target KMS key must be the same, right? Now, it is saying that the object you have been tasked to replicate the object to a target bucket in the same AWS region, but with a different KMS key. Okay. And then for your replication, the target KMS key is that replication and then the target KMS key. And it is still not working. Right. So you need a resource, right? A resource permission. So that's a KMS permission for you to be able to decrypt and then encrypt. All right. So this is the answer that you should choose. All you need is a resource policy for the replication to work. All right. Please, if anybody needs explanation, say it and let me explain. Even though we talked about it in yesterday's class. Okay, Mr. Arnold.
I didn't understand it, so if you could go back to it.
All right, that's fine. So yesterday when we were on KMS, right? I said that with server-side encryption, the encryption happens on the server side. So you, the client, does not even see, right? You, the user, does not even see the keys. And then for the question, it's saying that you have been tasked to replicate. So the most important thing is that it is being encrypted with server-side encryption by KMS. So you don't even have access to the keys, or you don't know the keys, right? Now you have been tasked to replicate the object to a target bucket in the same AWS region, but with a different KMS key. And that is even not yours to do. Okay. We understood that when there is a replication, or when you are copying an object to another place, what happens is that if it is a server-side encryption, the data is decrypted first and then sent over to the destination, and then it will be re-encrypted, right, at the destination or at the target bucket. So here it says that you have configured your replication and then selected your target bucket. So we all know how replication is done, S3 replication. And then you have also configured the target KMS key. But then I don't know why the sentence was "and anyway." The person who wrote it is a friend too. But I think here should be "but it is still not working," right? It is still not working. So what is missing to make the S3 replication work? Now, yesterday we even looked at, so for you to, or for a service to use a KMS key, right, to do a decryption, you need to set a resource policy, right? So the replication service or the target bucket needs access to the source key, all right? The source key to decrypt it. So the replication needs to have a role to be able to decrypt the data, all right? And then when it gets to the target bucket, right, it should also be able to re-encrypt it. So these are the permissions that the replication service needs to carry out the work. If not, if it tries to decrypt it, there will be a feedback that the service does not have access, right, to the KMS service to decrypt it. So it just needs access or permissions to decrypt it and then also re-encrypt when it gets to the target bucket. So, and these are things that you can specify in IAM. So you go to IAM rule, you go to IAM, and then you specify an IAM rule. So when you are doing in one of the labs, when we're doing the cross-region replication, we can all remember that we have to select an IAM rule, right? The network is not favoring me today. We could have looked at it. Let me see. Okay, so let me try and then create 2 buckets. Okay, this in the same region. So this time we just use the same region. So test back some random numbers. Right. And I'll save. So it has server-side encryption, right? So you can choose server-side encryption with S3 managed keys or server-side encryption with AWS KMS key, right? So here you have to enter a key ARN, but I don't have a key, okay? So I will have to just leave it like that. I've not created any key. Let me see if we can have one here. Okay, so I think there is one by KMS. We can use this one. So choose from your AWS KMS key. So we can choose this one, all right? And then we'll create. So I'm just trying for us to rehearse with this, all right? So let me create buckets. Great. So I'll create another one. Test about 2 and some random numbers. Okay. So literally what should have been done here is that I should select SSE KMS, all right? And then create a new one because we are using 2 keys, right? So I should create a new one, but I don't know whether this one, if it will cost me money. So using cost keys arrays or whatever, right? I don't know how much is going to cost me, but
Yo, if you create a new key, it will cost.
it will cost the
Yes,
how
so
much?
unfortunately.
Yeah, but let's even try with the same key because it's just the same thing, right? So I'll choose this one and then create the bucket. So in the same region, right? So here, what I will now set a cross-region replication. Okay, so I'll select this bucket and then in management, so I'll create a replication rule. Okay. So yeah, I will need to open IAM. Okay. Okay, so I have to enable bucket versioning. All right. So rule ID tests rep. I'll just choose that status is enabled, and then this is the source bucket. Okay. The scope, all objects. So destination, browse S3, and then the second one. All right. So this is the configuration that we've done. So I have to enable versioning on both buckets. All right. All right. So I've configured the replication. So you can see I can choose from existing IAM rules because I need a rule for the replication. Okay. So let me just choose any. yesterday I added the rule to this EC2 rule, right? So okay, let me use this. This one wouldn't have. Okay. And then you can see replicate object encrypted with AWS KMS service. So I can also select that. So replication might increase the number of KMS requests you will make. It looks like any call that is made to KMS2, I have to pay for it, right? Yeah, let me remove this thing. Okay. So literally, I will not even set up this replication because, right? But what happens is that for this IAM role, should have the permission to do the encryption and then the decryption, right? It should have the permission to do the encryption and then decryption. So if I think for this one, what needs to be done is that I need to also select the KMS key, right? So that it will be, so if you need to change the source bucket keys, choose create new role. All right. So it means it has to have a new rule. But let me leave this. So this, I'll go to IAM so that I'll show you the permissions that this replication service is going to assume this IAM role to do the replication in case I create a new object in my source bucket. All right. So in IAM, we'll look at the rows here. Okay, this is a role that I created already. It only has, I think, one read only rule. Okay, so IAM. I'll open that and we'll continue the questions, right? If you open, then we'll come back and then come and look at it so that we'll make good use of the time. So I'll cancel this and I'll delete my buckets. Right. The IAM is still open. So let's go to the next question. Okay. So rows. Okay, and IAM lists. Okay, so you can see the only row, the only permission or policies here is what the IAM read-only access. And if I should expand it, this is the policy here. So it means if the replication job or rule that I set was to replicate an object, the replication wouldn't happen because it doesn't have access to the KMS service. Okay, so the answer that we choose here, oh, I skipped it. All right. So the answer we choose is saying that this role that the replication service will assume need to have these permissions. So I'll create an inline policy, right? That will be attached to the role itself. Right. Needs to have the access to the KMS, right? And then we'll come to write. And we need to just give this role encrypt and decrypt. That is it. So that is the answer that we chose. It's just this one. All right. We need to just add the encrypt and then decrypt roles to, sorry, the encrypt and then decrypt permissions to the role that the replication service is going to what? Assume. Just these two. Okay. And then next. Missing field. What? One. So policy name I can just do replication. Okay. And then create. Correct. So this one has been added to this role. So if I give this role to the replication service, then it should be able to do the replication successfully, and then also do the encryption and decryption. All right. So that is just what the answer was explaining. Please, is it okay now?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, boss. So question 23, you have
But now
generated.
you do if you did sorry, if you did stream like if you did do something your streaming be very slow. So if you do plan too faster, it dey skip and we will know
Oh,
it about
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
you do slow down, make the streaming show you then see.
Okay. I didn't know that. All right, sure.
Right.
So you have generated a public certificate using Let's Encrypt. I think I mentioned this yesterday. And then uploaded it to ACM. So you can use and attach to an application load balancer that forwards traffic to EC2 instances. As this certificate is generated outside of AWS, it does not support the automatic renewal feature. How would you be notified 30 days before this certificate expires so you can manually generate a new one? I want answers. We have all forgotten now. Okay. Sorry, there was an answer hidden. Okay, so configure ACM to send notifications by linking it to third-party certificate provider. Configure event bridge for daily expiration events from ACM to invoke SNS notification to your email. Configure event bridge for monthly expiration events for ACM to invoke SNS notifications to your email. Configure CloudWatch alarms for daily expiration events from ACM to invoke SNS notifications to your email. Okay, so I have Sita, your answer is what? You have is D, right? Okay. So we also learned that ACM has an automatic renewal certificate, automatic certificate renewal feature for certificates that are generated by the ACM itself. But if it is a third-party certificate that you imported, so for example, let's encrypt, then you can't use the automatic renewal feature, right? But then you can also take advantage of the daily expiration event, right? So you use CloudWatch to monitor the, what's it called? A certificate that are about to expire, right? Even though ACM sends notifications 45 days prior to the expiration of your certificate, you can also configure CloudWatch alarms to monitor them, and then you'll be able to get daily expiration events from the AWS certificate manager, right? So you can use it to invoke an SNS notification to your email. All right. So here is daily, right? Is daily. Hey, almost here team. Wow. Okay, let me search on this because there's a
So
feature.
let's see, maybe
Is it? No, see
like
there.
the monthly one. Maybe.
Or is no, then it should be this. Yeah.
Oh, your internet today, your internet no good.
I don't get light. So my Wi-Fi go off.
Mm.
If you mobile internet I dey use.
It be mobile. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Mobile data
Yeah,
there.
great.
Okay, wait. Let me go to certificate manager because it was CloudWatch. I know ACM uses uh-huh, operations API gateway. Oh, okay. No. ACM. Public certificate. So ACM sends it was Event Bridge rather. Okay. So it should be Event Bridge instead of CloudWatch. Has managed to event appearing in Event Bridge. Okay. All right. So my bad for this one. So it should rather be the daily notifications by Event Bridge, right? Not CloudWatch. All right. So you have created the main edge optimized API gateway in US West 2 AWS region. This main edge optimized API gateway forwards traffic to the second level API gateway in AP Southeast 1. You want to secure the main API gateway by attaching an ACM certificate to it. Which AWS region are you going to create the ACM certificate in? So I explained something about edge optimized API gateway, right? That the REST APIs would capitalize or utilize CloudFront, right, to put your API, your REST APIs at the edge locations. Okay, but I said something about the original, the API gateway itself as to where it resides. All right, so that is what we will use to answer this. So let's look at the question again. So you have created the main edge optimized API gateway in US West 2 AWS region. The main edge optimized API gateway forwards traffic to the second level API gateway in AP Southeast 1. Now you want to secure the main, so here you are looking at what? The main API gateway by attaching an ACM certificate to it. Which AWS region are you going to create the ACM certificate in? Only one answer has come. Okay, I have two now. Okay, so we learned that the main API gateway itself sits in one region, all right? But it's just the REST APIs that takes advantage of CloudWatch, right? And then they are put at the edge location, but the main API gateway will still sit at the regional equator. So here it is the US West 2, right? Hey, today I am missing a lot of things. Let me go to the edge. So integration with API gateway. So for global client, yes. And so it still lives in only one region. Hey, sorry. It should be in US East 1. The main API gateway stays in, so all the global services, right? What happens is that all the global services stays in the North Virgin, that's the US East 1, right? US East 1 region. That is what happens. So when you create, S3, its default region is the North Virginia, that's US East 1. So any global service has its main, whatever, even though they said it's global, but like the IAM and then all those things, the default region is US East 1. Yeah, this one took me off. So it is US
So
East
you
1.
can know this by heart.
Is that?
You can know this by heart.
Yeah. Really, well, no. Yes, this really tricked me. Yeah, so it should be US East 1. So that is where the main API gateway. I think it should even be in the PDF here. Right? Or they didn't specify it. Okay. So must be in the same region as CloudFront, and that is US East 1. So CloudFront, the same thing. CloudFront also sits in US East 1. Right? So all the global services, their default region is the US East 1. That is North Virginia. All right, so 25, you are managing an AWS organization with multiple AWS accounts. Each account has a separate application with different resources. You want an easy way to manage security groups and workflows across, oh, this question has come again, across accounts. As there was security incidents the last weekend, you want to tighten up your resources, which AWS service can help you to do so. Okay, so that is firewall manager. All right, that's correct. So we had two of this. And then in the exam, we will have like cases like that. One question will come like 2 times or 3 times, and that should be a party for you. So let's see the results, and for the ones that we misunderstood, I will just go and go over the explanations again. So, right, so yeah, so for the parameter store, that was, I think this one we had the explanation, right? And then the certificates thing. Yeah, so it was Event Bridge, right? Instead of CloudWatch, it was Event Bridge. So it's ACM integrate with Event Bridge to send daily expiration messages, right? So if you have an external certificate that you import, then you take advantage of that and you subscribe, you'll use your email as an endpoint so that you get your notifications, right? Yes, and the edge optimized API that we just talked about, right? So this thing should actually like stay at the back of our head, right? Some of the questions can trick us, Okay, so that is about it. Unfortunately, let me see. Yeah, my battery is dying. I have about 40 minutes, but so I've updated the question set, right? I've I've gotten another set of questions that I've added them right here. And interestingly, some of the questions are in the 100 YouTube video. No? Yeah, some of them, I think about 5 or 6 of these questions, right, are in the videos as well. So I think all the dumps that we are looking at outside, we should pay attention to them, not cram the answers, but understand them so that immediately you meet them, you're able to approach the questions and then answer them correctly. So the goal is to get as many correct answers that you can, right? So I've updated them. It's 31 up to 50. Okay. Aka 15 now all exam set questions. All right. Yeah, so my battery is about to die. So what I will do is that I think everybody have access to the docs, right? I have the link in the study group and also in the main chat. So this is what the YouTube guy was doing. So you take the question sentence by sentence. So some of them are not relevant. So you just let it go. Okay, some of them are not relevant. So you just let that statement go. So for example, this one, right, says a company is building a solution that reports EC2 auto scaling events across all the applications in an account. Now the company needs to use a serverless solution to store the EC2 scaling status in Amazon S3. The company then will use the data in Amazon S3 to provide a near real-time updates in a dashboard. The solution must not affect the speed of the EC2 instance launch. Now, there are services, okay? When you talk about near real-time updates, you are looking at Kinesis, all right? So Kinesis data streams, Kinesis data fire hose, right? That gives you real-time and the near real-time updates. Okay, so you put that in mind. So you go through the options. So even if you don't know, okay, even if you don't know, but then the service that you are even looking for might also have, what's it called, a wrong answer. Okay, for that one there. But you look at how they are being combined, right? And then you choose the correct answer from that, or you first eliminate the wrong answers. Okay, you first eliminate the wrong answers and then you choose the correct one. So here, let's just go through the options. So you use Amazon CloudWatch metric stream to send the auto scaling status data to Amazon Kinesis data fire host, and then you store the data in Amazon S3. So this one has Kinesis data fire host. Okay, so you mark that one. I'm not saying that is correct, but you mark that one down, and then you come here, launch an Amazon Elastic Map reduce cluster to collect the EC2 auto scaling status and then send all this, like it's plenty, right? So this looks like an overhead. Okay, so you leave that one out, And then this one also says create an Amazon event bridge rule to invoke an AWS Lambda function on a schedule. Okay. Configure the Lambda function to send EC2 auto scaling status. The status data directly into Amazon S3. All right. We wouldn't make it for me. All right. And then also here use a bootstrap. Why. And also a plenty, right? A bootstrap script during the launch of the EC2 instance. Like too many answers. All right. So I'll also take this off because you have to install Kinesis agent, configure Kinesis agent to collect EC2 auto scaling status data and send the data to Amazon Kinesis data firehose, and then now store the data in S3. So among this, A looks what? Because CloudWatch is able to take auto scaling data, right? CloudWatch is also can be used to track auto scaling activities, right? So because even when you set up auto scaling, it is CloudWatch that, especially if you are using a target tracking metric, it is CloudWatch that you are going to use, right, to track the CPU utilization. And then from there, it triggers the auto scaling. Depending on the metric that you set, it will trigger the auto scaling to what? To scale out or scale in or scale up or scale down, right? So from that, what happens when it happens, the activity happens, it should send that metric towards the Kinesis data firehose, and then firehose, one of the endpoints for data firehose is S3. So the endpoint, I also talked about it, that the endpoint for firehose is S3, is it Redshift, and then OpenSearch, right? OpenSearch for Elasticsearch. These are the three endpoints for Firehose. So you also take notice of that. So you take the question sentence by sentence, and then one. So here they are also looking at the one that will not affect the speed of the EC2 instance launches, right? So depending on what the question also demands, you are able to look at it, take it as option by option. Some of them, when you look at it, obviously you see that, oh wait, yeah, it will like be a long distance operation overhead. So you eliminate them, and sometimes you even do the elimination, and then you'll be left with only one answer. At a point where you do your elimination, and then you also realize that you have actually eliminated all the answer. Just select one option, right? The one that closely makes sense to you, and flag it for review.
Like the internet is very bad.
You hear me?
Your machine did die.
No, it be the network safe. I hotspot my mobile data.
Yes. Cool.
Make us stop the share and see if we are.
Now good, now good.
Charlie, these people they really worry me. Let me reshare again. All right. Okay. So as I was saying, so in case you do your elimination and then you realize you have actually eliminated everything, then you just select the one that closely makes sense, right? And then you move on, right? And then sometimes some of the questions too, they will ask which of them will reduce operational overhead, right? And then what some people will also try to do is that because they said it will reduce operational overhead, they will look for the sentence that are too like plenty, right? So for example, this one, and then they eliminate them. Don't try that thing too, right? You might miss the correct answer if you also use that approach. Because the sentence is plenty, you might think that will be like it will give operational overhead. Sometimes that is it's the one that makes like the most sense. So you are looking at the combination of the services, right? So in this case, since CloudWatch metric stream, right, is able to send auto scaling, is able to track even EC2 instances and then instances in auto scaling group, and is able to send data to Kinesis, because the services that can also ingest data in Kinesis data firehose is plenty, but just that the endpoint, right, where Kinesis data firehose sends data is limited to these three, right? So if CloudWatch is able to do that, why will I then, bootstrap a script to the launch of the EC2 instance, and then so the script is going to install a Kinesis data agent, right? And then now I'll configure the agent to collect the auto scaling status data and then now send it to data firehose. That is like a long thing, right? So even though the sentence is long, it's the combination of the services that we are looking at. All right, this wouldn't make sense. And then the one that also talks about event bridge, right, is saying that the solution must not affect the speed of the EC2 instance launches. But now, if you are creating an event bridge rule to now invoke a Lambda function on a schedule, right, the thing is saying that it should report in a real time. So why would you schedule a Lambda function? And then what shows that, because if you are scaling, it means that you are able to predict, right? So this will also not be it. And then map reduce is to, what does it do, say?
Batching.
Yes, correct. So map reduce is like for, is used for small batch works, right? Right, you take like small works and then you put it together. So that is actually like out of scope, right? So if you do the elimination, you are left with this. So if you use, I mean, if you watch the guy's video, so it makes the whole thing like very easy for you, right? The question comes very easy. So if you see a lot of questions like this here, you're also seeing what a Microsoft Active Directory, right? And then they deploy the application in multiple accounts. The company uses AWS organizations to manage the account centrally. Now, the security team needs a single sign-on solution across all the company's AWS accounts. Now, the company must continue to manage users and groups that are in the on-premises Active Directory. So here, you are not sending all the credentials, the Active Directory credentials to AWS, right, to manage them on AWS. You also want to manage it on premises. So it means that if users are signing on to AWS, there should be an authentication from the on-prem Active Directory, right? And then in case somebody is also logging on to the on-prem Active Directory, there should be an authentication, right, from AWS. So it means that you can use your AWS credentials to log on to your on-prem, or you can use your Active Directory to log on to your on-prem. So there should be a two-way communication, right? And then if you look at here, so first you are looking for Microsoft, the option that has Microsoft Active Directory, and then also has what? A two-way forest trust. So a forest is just like a place that you have like user logins, right? Or a user pool. All right. So you are looking for Active Directory and then a two-way communication or forest relationship. So you see that, and then you might, even though you have not read it, but you mark that down as your correct answer. Now you go and then look at the other options. Here it vividly said what Microsoft. I didn't even read all the questions, but then I know that this one is out because it doesn't mention anything like Active Directory, right? And this one also has AWS Directory Service, but then it says what? Create a two-way trust relationship with the company's self-managed Active Directory. That is not it, right? So you now have enable IAM Identity Center and then configure a two-way forest trust relationship to connect the company's self-managed Active Directory with the IAM Identity Center using the AWS Directory Service for Microsoft Active Directory. Right. So even though this one also uses AWS Directory Service, but then you need what for Active Directory. And so this one is also out here.
You go Google them or you do them already.
This one I do them already.
Okay.
I do them already. And I think this one is even in the it's part of the 100 questions. So I had to even ask the guy that is this part of his exam questions. I had to ask him because when I was watching the guy's video, I saw that about some of the questions and then the answers were also the same. The options were also the same. So I had to like ask him that, yo, is this part of your question set? Just to confirm that we are not solving dumps. Like, I mean, the usual dumps. Because about four or five questions were in there. All right, so all right, let me see if I will see identity. Oh, you know, will cost me money, Anna. Let me see. Then I'll activate it. Then we'll look at it. Resources for AWS account. They don't talk any money matter for here.
Pricing they no did it.
Is there?
As
Eh,
in pricing they no did it.
I beg make a search for you. That's it. Hmm. Such as AWS Directory Service or AWS. So it's always a good idea. Charlie. I'm not good. Let me see directory service. That I have to, I think, enable identity center before.
Bakuli.
Is it? Hmm.